Honestly, this result is so frustrating. It is so frustrating, like, especially before international break. The fact that, it's impossible for us to leave 10th place. Like, we are stuck in purgatory. We are not leaving this position throughout the season. And I think for me, the reality simply is this right now. Next month, our game against Real Madrid is by far the biggest game of our season. It has the most pressure riding upon it as well, because the reality is, if we have any hopes of getting Champions League football for next season, we have to win the Champions League this season. It's damn well impossible that we have any hopes of getting a Champions League spot in this season right now, because honestly, I feel like, yet again, it's game management decisions. And at the same time too, I feel like the players find it very hard to kill off games when they have to. Like during the flow of a game, when momentum is on your side, you have these flurries of attacks where you have to take advantage and dispatch the team during those moments. Every time you don't do that, every time you're wasteful in front of goal, you're allowing more hope for the opposition, because their game plan is essentially still working and we're still struggling to break them down. I feel like you can't just blame Potter upon this, because his football is about getting these guys in the right positions, and then it's up to these guys to figure out the solutions on the field. That's why we've signed top quality players to make sense of the football even more. So I believe that will come in time. And today, I was asking myself a question. Everton, big physical team, full of guys over 6 foot, very strong, very tall. And they play very defensive football under Sean Dyche. We've been notoriously bad at breaking down teams that park the bus at Stamford Bridge. Like, honestly, like, our point record at home is awful. The goal record at home is absolutely awful as well, because most teams come here, park the bus, sit back, and we're still unable to really just capitalize against these teams. Like, until we figure out a way to consistently get past teams that park the bus, we won't do anything in the Premier League. Because most teams are going to do that. Most teams are going to play without the balls. So we need to be more efficient in front of goal. And I feel a lot of that has to come from the players. And, it's games like this where it's like, okay, I can understand why we would look towards a striker in the summer, because, certain chances today, like for example, Kai Havertz, like a hat-trick of headed opportunities, and normally his technique is so on point, but every single time it was completely off. And you're thinking to yourself, in a moment like this, I could imagine Victor Osimhen in that same scenario, and you have a much greater probability of this guy putting the ball in the back of the net. So, this is what I mean by players also having to take responsibility as well. And you know what? I think if there was one player that really sums up this game for me, that would be Joao Felix. Like, for me, this is the Joao Felix show. And you know what? I think his overall performance was very positive. And I think there's one observation I've noticed about Joao Felix's game, and that's the fact that with a player like Felix, who's been given full creative license to move anywhere across the field, to be in any position he wants to be, to link up how he wants, to have the license to break forwards and get into the final third as well too. It's hard to really coach, what to do with him, because you're not supposed to. Like, these guys do everything themselves and figure it out. And I kind of feel like once Felix plays more games with his teammates, because I think for a player like him playing that type of role, you need to have like a telepathic sixth sense in terms of, when's the best time to release the ball? When am I going to be able to get a shot in this position? Just, little details like that, where your understanding of each other's games is a thing that, really ends up working for you. And that's why certain players like Felix have full creative license to do what they want, because they can elevate a team once everyone's fully in sync. And the reason why I'm starting with this long-winded answer is because even though this guy had incredible danger in the game, like, I'll talk about that later on, at times the passing decisions are wrong. At times he's taking shots when he shouldn't be. And there were a few opportunities, especially Kai Havertz. There was at least 2 occasions in that game where Kai, who's very good at peeling off his man and finding spaces that are vacated, on 2 occasions he did the right thing, and Felix didn't look up. Felix's head is still on the ground. Felix is taking quick shots and, like trying to take the extra touch at times. And it's just like, in those moments, you should know this is the moment I need to release the ball and not force something with like low probability efforts. I think this is where obviously he can only improve once he's playing more games with his teammates. I mean, of course, these guys are slowly like developing and understanding. I'll talk about the certain positives and negatives later on, but You know, these are things that Felix has to improve for me, but that doesn't take away from the positives that he brought to the game. I mean, for example, that goal he scored, that's exactly why we brought this guy here on loan. You know, he created that from absolutely nothing. You know, to be receiving that from the opposite side of his body, quick first shot with his left foot. I mean, come on, the technique right there, all about precision over power. That's an excellent goal, and he deserved that because this guy's imagination in the game today. Like, we've been lucky as Chelsea fans, yeah. We've had guys like Gianfranco Zola, absolute genius. I'm so grateful that I got to see this guy play live. Eden Hazard as well, too, one of the greatest players in our history. And we've been fortunate to have these real magicians and wizards on the field just entertaining us. And I think Felix, for me, this is why a lot of us are really excited about it. Because, come on, we're fans. We're paying a lot of money, but investing a lot of time into watching our teams. And a lot of times we just want a little bit of fantasy. Of course, we understand that we need to get 3 points and we need to win. But players like Joao Felix, they bring that fantasy, they bring that imagination, that excitement. You know, that little kid-like feeling you have when you see like a skill coming off. Every fan loves a player like that. And of course, I want to see him successful. And I think this game today, his positives really did shine. I mean, he was so zippy in terms of positions he was finding. Like, his timing of his runs inside the box were really good. Like, his drives through the middle had a lot of purpose. You know, he was encouraging guys to make runs ahead of him, and he was winning free kicks in dangerous areas. And most importantly, his defensive work off the ball was also on point today. Like, I was actually impressed with what he was doing in terms of closing guys down, maintaining the shape, you know, but knowing when to come back, and obviously, like, you know, trying to win his duels and sliding in quite a lot as well too. So I think Felix in general, very positive, but, you know, we need to get more clinical with our decision making in the final thirds, because I think the best positive for me was that I felt like we did actually play quite decent against Everton today. I mean, of course, you know, they're a team that's sitting back, defending, you know, parking the bus, very physical in the middle. They don't want us in those areas, but some of the football we played at times, some of the passing moves and passing exchanges, of course, Enzo Fernandez was at the heart of everything brilliant. Like, that one particular counter-attack in the first half where, like, Enzo Fernandez receives back to goal, first time plays a pass with his right foot to find Havertz out wide. Havertz plays it back into Enzo, who's still carrying his run forward, and then he plays a ball over the top. And this is what Enzo does. Like, he kick-starts moves and he makes the play happen. And just his overall class on the field as well, like the touches, the way he thinks. Like, that's what I love about Enzo. Like when you can try to, like, picture what he's thinking in the game, he pulls off what you should be doing in the right moments. Like, this guy's a very, very special player. And Enzo was at the heart of a lot of good things we did throughout this game today. So I felt, but those moves, you know, the overall danger we had in the game today, it was there. You know, we had danger from set pieces throughout, half chances galore, individual moments of brilliance, volley attempts, etc., etc. On another day, some of these efforts are more accurate and they go in on goal. But I thought our overall game in terms of, you know, playing through the Everton press, in terms of, you know, creating opportunities, in terms of finding our guys with quick passes between the lines, we were doing that quite a lot. But I feel like it has to be player decisions. In these moments, I need to get a bit better. And hopefully with more game time, that's the only thing that really gets these guys, like, properly playing together. But I'll probably say in terms of negatives, maybe the game management today from Graham Potter. There was one substitution that gave me, like, a bit of fear, actually, and that was when Jalaba came on. And my thing was that normally, like, I've watched football for so many years, obviously. A lot of times when defenders, you know, end up being subbed in for each other, like, it takes you a bit of time to get, like, immensely accustomed to the game you're playing. And the goal that Everton scored for the equaliser to make it 2-2, I felt like Jalaba's positioning was not good. He was in, like, no man's land. He put Koulibaly under a ton of pressure where he had to really extend his legs to try and close down the space because the space was too big for him realistically. He did good just to even get in that position. And I kind of felt like if Jalaba never came on, if Fofana was still there, that opportunity simply doesn't happen, because Fofana today was absolutely sensational. I mean, some of those drives forward into the final third, the way he's able to push the team up the field. I mean, this guy carries the ball. He actually has the close control tech of, like, a winger. Like, he's a very elegant type of player. Could that be possibly for fitness reasons? I don't know at this point in time. But little details like that where Fofana was so on point throughout the entire side. Everton could do nothing down that right-hand side. For him to come off for whatever reason, it's a bit risky. And one positioning mistake puts us behind, and that's that. Of course, a few valiant attempts and efforts to try and get back. But in the end, even though we answered some questions in terms of being able to play against like a physical team that sits deep, it's the same old thing that bites us in the ass, right? You know, in-game management and details, you know, struggling from set pieces. And of course, you know, mistakes at the back that allow teams to come in from nowhere. Like, until we really fine-tune these errors, we're not going to progress as we should. But listen, at least we didn't lose the game today. At least we had chances galore. It wasn't all negative, even though the overall feeling is a bit of dejection at this point in time, because we came so close to getting the win in this game today. And like I said, if we came back from international break and, you know, another place up in the league table, things are completely different, because we have a very tough run of games coming after this. And I hope these guys are going to find the finishing boots, because until we start to get more clinical, we're going to make things difficult for ourselves. I mean, you know, going back to game management, I understand why Porter made certain decisions. I mean, we've been winning games recently by bringing on Gallagher to make it like a 3-man midfield, 2 up front. Just small little details like a set piece going wrong, and of course Jalab's positioning allowed Everton to get back in the game. But, you know, it was a bit frustrating that we never got to see Mudryk playing. Of course, it was interesting that Pulisic was playing up front. I mean, listen, for the first like 60 minutes, I thought Pulisic was actually decent. The interchange with him and Joao Felix was very good, and it was kind of working, so I don't think Pulisic was any issue. Maybe in hindsight, Porter should have made one offensive decision, bringing on Mudryk, because Mudryk's pace is going to cause a lot of fear to Everton. That's going to force their lines back a little bit, because the defender's going to be like, okay, if I make one mistake when positioning, I don't have the pace to come back to make any recovery runs. Like little things like that. It discourages the opposition team from, you know, attacking you, because Everton had everything to play for in this game today. And listen, it's a fair result for Everton, their team, the fans. I mean, they really deserved it based on how they kept their intensity up for 90 minutes. But I felt like the game management kind of encouraged Everton to have a bit more faith and hope. And I know it's a hindsight thing, but it's these little details, right? Like, we can be good for like 75% of a game, but then the last 25% is what costs us every single time. And it's about trying to reduce that 25% to make it 10%, to make it 5%, if that. So you guys, on that note, I'm going to wrap things up. Share your thoughts and opinions below in the comment section. I'm the EFC, this is Blue Line TV. I'll catch you guys there with some more videos. Cool.